So I need to tell you guys something that I've never actually said out loud to anyone outside of my therapist and my husband. My family gave me a nickname when I was 4 years old. Not a cute nickname. Not a sweet one. They called me Black Dairy Milk. And before you ask, yes, because of my skin color. Yes, to my face. Yes, for 16 years. My name is Maya. I'm 20 years old. My whole family is white, like, generationally, classically, Virginia white. My mom, my dad, my brother, my little sister, every single aunt and uncle and cousin at every single Thanksgiving table I have ever sat at. And then there's me. Light brown skin. Big dark eyes. The one who looks like she got mixed up with someone else's family photo. I want to tell you how this happened, how I survived it, and how the most unexpected person completely changed the way I see myself. But I'm warning you right now, this is going to get heavy before it gets better. Stay with me. Pause button really quick before I keep going. Just drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. City, country, anything. I genuinely read every single one. Okay, let's go. So first, let me explain the skin thing because I think people assume the worst, and it's actually just kind of a weird accident of timing. My parents were traveling through Southeast Asia when my mom went into early labor. I was born 6 weeks premature in Thailand. And apparently when you're born premature in a warm climate, your skin tone can come out warmer than it would have settled at. Doctors told my parents this. It was noted, explained, understood, and then completely ignored for the next 16 years. Because here's the thing. My mom is the kind of white that hasn't seen the sun since 1987. My Aunt Patricia is translucent. My grandmother used SPF 100 every single day of her life, like it was a religion. And my little sister Lily, Lily, she came out with strawberry blonde hair and green eyes and skin so fair you could literally see the blue veins in her wrists. My mom used to call her porcelain, like it was the highest compliment a human being could receive. And I was, in the family's words, the dark one. Not dark. I want to be really clear about that. A stranger on the street would not clock anything unusual about me. But in a room full of white faces, my light brown skin stood out. And my family noticed. They always noticed. My grandmother started it. She was holding a dairy milk bar, the chocolate, and she looked at Lily and said, "This one is like the milk in the wrapper." And then she looked at me and laughed. And said, "And this one is the chocolate." I was 4. I didn't understand what was funny. But I felt the temperature of the room change in that specific way where you know something just happened even if you can't name it yet. That was the day I became Black Dairy Milk. Not Maya. Not their granddaughter. Black Dairy Milk. And I need you to understand, my family did not think they were being cruel. This is the part that keeps me up at night even now. They thought it was a nickname. Affectionate. Like calling a chubby baby Chubs or a tall kid Stretch. They thought they were being funny and warm and inclusive. They were not. But they didn't know that. And when cruelty thinks it's kindness, it never ever stops. By the time I was 6, every adult in the extended family knew the nickname. By 8, my cousins were using it to my face. By 10, my sister Lily had started using it too. Not to be mean. She'll tell you that. Out of habit. Which is actually so much worse because at least cruelty means you registered that I exist. Habit means you stopped thinking about me entirely. Okay, so let me tell you about Lily for a second because she is a whole entire thing. Lily is 2 years younger than me. And she is, I'm going to be honest about this because I'm not trying to be bitter. I'm trying to be accurate. She is very pretty. Conventionally, obviously pretty. The kind of pretty that photographers love and that adults comment on immediately. She is also one of the most performative people I have ever met in my entire life. Everything Lily does has an audience in mind. Her crying is staged. I'm serious. She has this thing where her eyes fill up, but the tears don't fall because she has figured out that one tear, slowly, down the left cheek, is more devastating than actual crying. She has never in her life had the kind of cry where your nose runs and your face goes blotchy and you make sounds you can't control. Her crying is cinematic. Her helpfulness is performed. She will loudly announce she's doing the dishes while doing 4 dishes and then sitting back down. She will offer to carry something heavy, struggle dramatically, and then need help, which puts her back at the center of the moment. She calls my mom every Sunday not because she wants to talk, but because being the daughter who calls every Sunday is a role worth having. And she was not always intentionally mean to me. I want to say that. But she was careless. And carelessness does more damage than cruelty, because cruelty at least acknowledges that you're a person worth hurting. Lily's carelessness said you're not important enough for me to be careful about. She used my nickname at the dinner table without thinking. Black dairy milk, past the salt. In front of guests. Without looking up from her phone. But the moment that I think about the most, the one that I can still feel in my chest, happened the summer I was 15. I had spent 3 months saving up for a dress for my cousin's wedding. Blush pink. Off the shoulder. I tried it on the night before the wedding and I stood in front of the mirror and I genuinely looked good. I felt pretty for the first time in years. Lily walked in without knocking. She looked at me in the dress, tilted her head, and said, the pink kind of makes you look darker. Maybe try the blue one? She said it like she was helping me. She walked back out. I changed into the blue dress. I stood at the edges of every photo at that wedding. I was already half disappeared before the night even started. I didn't buy myself a dress I actually loved for 4 more years after that. Now let me tell you what 16 years of black dairy milk actually does to a person. Not in therapy speak. In real life terms. I stopped looking in mirrors. Not all at once. Slowly. The way you stop touching something that hurts you over and over until you don't even reach for it anymore. By the time I was 13, I could get through my whole morning routine without making eye contact with my own reflection. I'd look at my hair, my teeth, my hands, never my face straight on. I didn't notice I was doing it. It had just become normal. I stopped believing compliments. When I was 14, a girl in my class named Jess told me I had the most beautiful eyes she'd ever seen. Dark, large, clear, the kind that made it feel like you were paying full attention to everything. I smiled, said thank you, and immediately thought she's being nice because I'm having a bad day and she feels bad for me. This is what years of a family nickname does. It doesn't just tell you you're ugly. It tells you that anyone who says otherwise is either lying or performing. It makes you immune to being seen. Every compliment bounces off because you've already decided the verdict. I stood at the back of every photo, every group picture, every birthday, every holiday. I positioned myself automatically toward the edge. Half a step back, slightly angled away, ready to be cropped out. My body had learned the posture of someone who expects to be erased. And I quietly, without drama, without crying about it, decided that nobody would ever want me. In the relationship sense, the choosing you in front of people, showing up in photographs, building a life together sense. I built my future around that assumption the way you build a house around a load-bearing wall. You don't question the wall. You just construct everything else around it. The wall was, the black dairy milk one doesn't get chosen. I got into State University on a partial academic scholarship, 3.8 GPA. I worked for every single point of it in a house where the praise budget was entirely spent on Lily and my brother Ethan. My mom's response when I told her I got in, "Oh, that's great, honey. Did you tell your grandmother? She's visiting next week. Lily's school play is Friday. She doesn't want to miss it." I drove to campus alone. 2 suitcases. And this relief that felt almost guilty, like I was escaping something I should have been stronger than. Freshman year, I kept to myself. Wore dark colors. Sat in the back of lecture halls. I had friends, a girl named Jordan from Minnesota, who was loud and hilarious and once made me laugh so hard I snorted coffee across a library table. A guy named Felix who played guitar outside our dorm on Tuesday nights. Good people. They liked me. And I spent an entire year waiting for them to realize they'd made a mistake. Okay, now I need to tell you about Caleb. Caleb Harrington, Jr. Pre-law. 6'1". The kind of handsome that's obvious but not overwhelming, strong jaw, easy smile, the face that cameras like. Half the campus had a story about noticing Caleb Harrington. I did not have a crush on him. You don't develop crushes on people you've already decided are categorically unavailable. I noticed him the way I noticed architecture I'd never live in. With appreciation. From a distance. Without wanting. The first time he talked to me, I was in the library in October. I had a paper due on housing inequality. 7 books. Lukewarm coffee. A table by the window. He sat down directly across from me. Not next to me. Across, which meant he had to actively look at my face. I looked around. The library was half empty. I said there are literally 30 other open seats. He said, yeah, but you're sitting here. I stared at him for 3 full seconds trying to figure out if he was lost or starting a bit. Then I said okay, and went back to my paper. He opened his laptop. We worked. 45 minutes later, he asked what I was writing about. I told him. He asked a genuinely good question about rent control that turned into a 40-minute conversation that had nothing to do with either of our assignments. He came back the next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that. By November, he was texting me housing policy memes at 11 p.m. I showed Jordan. She looked at me and said, Maya, he likes you. I said, he thinks I'm interesting. That's different. She said, Maya. I said, he's just friendly. He's a friendly person. She put her phone down, looked at me with the patience of someone who has been watching a very slow car crash and cannot stop it. She said, he walked past 6 empty seats to sit across from you the first time. He has texted you every single day for 3 weeks. Last Thursday, he waited outside your class for 20 minutes to walk you to the dining hall. Maya, he likes you. I heard her. I did not believe her. Because here's the thing about a wall you build your life around. Even when someone walks straight through it, you assume they didn't notice it was there. You assume it's a mistake. You wait for the correction. I was so sure it was a mistake that when Caleb asked me to get coffee, not study, not a group hangout, coffee, just us, Saturday morning, I said yes with the complete calm of someone who had already decided it was not a date. It was absolutely a date. We went to this small place off campus called Harbor Roast. He was already there when I arrived. He had ordered me an oat milk latte. Because 3 weeks earlier in a conversation, I didn't think he was paying that much attention to I had mentioned I didn't like whole milk in coffee. He remembered. I sat down and stared at the cup. He said, is something wrong with the latte? I said, you remembered. He said, of course. Like it was the most obvious thing. Like paying attention to what people say was just something you did automatically. We talked for 3 hours. About his family. About whether law school was actually what he wanted or just a plan he'd committed to too early to change. About the specific loneliness of being somewhere where everyone else seems to have already figured out who they are. I said, I think I've spent most of my life being more comfortable on the edges of things. He looked at me and said, why? Nobody had ever asked me why before. I gave him a vague answer about being introverted. He didn't push it, but he held on to it. I could tell by the way he looked at me for just a beat too long before moving on. Walking back to campus, he asked if he could take a photo with me. Casual. Selfie outside the coffee shop. My entire body said step back. Get to the edge. Be ready to be cropped. I said yes anyway. He posted it that night. Tagged me. Caption, good coffee, better company. I stared at that photo for a long time. My face was there. In focus. In the center, looking like a person who had somewhere to be and knew it. I saved it to my camera roll, put my phone face down, sat completely still for a few minutes. It was the first photo anyone had posted of me where I wasn't half hidden, or at the edge, or slightly out of frame. I didn't know what to do with that. We kept seeing each other. Regularly. Intentionally. Jordan called it dating. I called it spending time together. Every good thing that happened, I waited for the other shoe to drop. He held my hand walking across campus in January when it was 17 degrees. I thought he'll let go when his friends see. His friends saw. He didn't let go. He introduced me to his roommate, his study group, a girl from his hometown who visited for a weekend. He said, "This is Maya. She's important, remember her." I thought, this is temporary. Something will shift. The joke will land eventually. The joke never landed. He came to my room for the first time in February. And he noticed, I could see him notice, that I had almost no photos of myself anywhere. Jordan's bulletin board next door was covered in her whole life. Mine had textbooks and one postcard of a building I thought was beautiful. He said, "No photos?" I said, "I'm not really a photos person." He took out his phone, asked if he could. I almost said no. I said yes. He took 4 pictures. Me laughing. Me looking out the window. Me looking straight at the camera. He showed me one. And I looked at the girl in the photo, and I genuinely did not recognize her. She had dark eyes that were objectively striking. Her skin was warm and even, and the winter light from the window was catching it in a way that looked like an actual portrait. Her features, the big eyes, the strong brows, the cheekbones, were arranged in a face that was not hiding. A face that was just there, present, unapologetic. I said, "That doesn't look like me." He looked at the photo, looked at me, looked at the photo again. He said, "Maya, that is exactly what you look like." Spring break sophomore year, I went home. I hadn't told Caleb about any of it. The nickname, the photos, Lily, none of it. I had been dating him for 4 months with the careful architecture of someone keeping 2 buildings from ever standing next to each other. First night home. Dinner table. My mom made roast chicken. I mentioned carefully, briefly, that my professor had suggested I submit a research paper to an undergraduate journal. My mom said, "That's great, honey." One breath. "Lily, tell us about the spring showcase." Lily performed a 90-second summary of her dance showcase. My mom asked 4 follow-up questions. Ended with, "You are just so talented, baby." I finished my chicken. Second day. Aunt Patricia came over for lunch. Walked in, hugged Lily for a long time, told her she looked like a movie star. Turned to me. Black dairy milk. "You're home," said warm, like a greeting, like she was happy to see me. I smiled with my mouth. "Hi, Aunt Patricia," I said. Third day. I went to the bathroom and found, in the drawer, surrounded by Lily's hair products and face wash, a collection of skin lightening products. I want to be really precise about this moment because it hits different than everything else. The nickname I could explain away. They meant it as a joke. They didn't think it through. They didn't understand what they were doing. But this product specifically designed to make skin lighter, in our shared bathroom, in Lily's drawer, this was the private language. The thing they believed but would never say out loud. The thing underneath every joke and every photo and every pass the salt. Our family valued lighter skin. They had always valued lighter skin. And the color of my skin, not Lily's achievements, not Ethan's lacrosse, not some undefined quality I had failed to develop. The color of my skin was why the praise went somewhere else. I had spent 16 years thinking there was something wrong with me that I could fix if I just figured out what it was. Standing in that bathroom, I understood that there was nothing to fix. There had never been anything to fix. I put the product back. Closed the drawer. Called Caleb. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, how's home?" "Fine," I said. And then I started crying. The kind I hadn't planned. The ugly kind, with the running nose and the sounds you can't control. He stayed on the phone for 2 hours. I told him everything. The nickname. How it started. What it meant. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "They called you that. Your family. To your face." "It was a joke," I said. The line I always used. "They didn't mean it badly." "Maya," he said. "They named you after a racial joke and used it for 16 years. I had never heard it put that simply before. Just the facts. In a sentence. without the padding of they meant well, or it was a different time, or they just didn't understand. I told him about the photos. 22 frames on the wall. 6 of mine. 3 where I was half hidden. I told him about standing at the back of every picture since I was 9. I told him about Lily and the blush dress. I told him about the mirrors. Looking at my hands, but never my face. 16 years of building my whole life around the wall that said nobody will choose you. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Maya, can I ask you something? Yeah. When I took those photos of you in your room, the ones by the window. Yeah. You said the girl in them didn't look like you. Yeah. She looked too what? I didn't finish the sentence. Because the word I was going to say was good. She looks too good to be me. Too present. Too much like someone who deserves to be in the frame. I see you, Caleb said. I have been looking at your face for 4 months, and I promise you what I see is not what your family described. I didn't have a script for that. There is no prepared response for being seen after 16 years of practice at disappearing. I cried again. The ugly kind. He stayed on the phone. Sophomore year, I bought a mirror. Full length. Put it on the back of my dorm room door. I didn't look at it all at once. I started small. My hands. My arms. My hair. The way you ease into cold water when you're not ready to jump. By October, I could look at my own face without turning away. This sounds like nothing. It was not nothing. Jordan took a photo of me at Felix's birthday dinner. All of us at a restaurant, fairy lights, the specific warmth of a night when you're genuinely happy. I'm in the center of the photo, leaning toward Jordan mid-laugh.
She sent it to me.
And I looked at it. I looked at it for a long time. And I thought, for the first time ever about myself, I thought she's pretty. Not in spite of anything. Not despite her skin or her features, or any of the things that had been pointed out as problems for 16 years.
Just pretty.
Warm-featured. Bright-eyed. Worth photographing.
I didn't know what to do with that thought.
I sat with it. Then I printed the photo.
Put it on my desk.
First photo of myself I had ever voluntarily displayed anywhere in my life. Caleb came home with me for Thanksgiving's sophomore year. We'd been together over a year. He knew about everything by then. In the car on the way there, I warned him. About the nickname. About how the family worked. About Lily. He said, I'm not going to sit there and let your family call you that while I eat their dinner. That's not happening. I said okay. We pulled into the driveway. My mom came out. Saw Caleb, tall, broad, clearly not a mistake, and her entire face rearranged itself into something warmer than I'd seen directed at me in years. You must be Caleb.
We've heard so much about you.
They had heard almost nothing because I had told them almost nothing. Lily was at the door. She looked at Caleb, then at me, then back at Caleb. A calculation happened behind her eyes that I recognized. She was trying to understand how this had occurred. We sat down for dinner. Aunt Patricia was there. She looked at me and started to open her mouth. Black dairy. Caleb put his fork down. He didn't raise his voice. He looked at Patricia directly.
Calm. Clear.
Her name is Maya. The table went silent. Patricia's mouth closed. My mother looked at Caleb, then at her plate. Of course, Patricia said. Of course. Maya. She didn't use the nickname again that night. Nobody did. After dinner, my mom found me in the kitchen.
He defended you, she said, like she was still processing it.
He defended my name, I said. She was quiet. Rinsed a glass she'd already rinsed.
You know, we never meant it badly, she said.
The nickname. It was just. I know, I said. That's almost the hardest part. Something moved across her face. Not guilt exactly. Not recognition exactly. Somewhere between the two. She didn't say anything else. I didn't need her to. I had stopped needing her to say the right thing somewhere around my freshman year, in a library, across from a boy who walked past 6 empty seats to sit in front of me. Before we left, Caleb picked up one of the photo albums from the shelf. He flipped through it slowly. I watched his jaw tighten. He didn't say anything.
He put the album back.
Found the one photo of me on the wall. Me at 7 in shadow, half hidden behind my cousins. He looked at it for a long time. In the car, he was quiet for 10 minutes. Then he said, I want to take a photo of you. Here. Before we leave, I said, Caleb.
He said, not for them. For you.
We got out of the car. He stood me in front of the house. Center frame. Good light. Looking at the camera. Not hiding. Not at the edge. He took 12 photos. He printed one later. Small frame. Gave it to me with no occasion, no explanation. Just this one. I put it on my desk, next to the birthday dinner photo. 2 photos of myself. Displayed.
By choice.
I am 20 years old. Caleb and I got married last spring. Yes, I know we're young. No, I don't need the comments about it. We did it at the courthouse. Just us and Jordan and Felix as witnesses. Caleb wore a gray suit. I wore a cream dress I picked out completely alone. In a fitting room, in front of a mirror I looked at directly, without wanting to look away. I did not choose cream to avoid the color pink. I chose it because I loved it. The photographer we hired took 340 pictures. I am in all 340. I have not counted the ones where I'm hidden or cropped or standing at the edge, because there are none. My dad texted me the night before. He was never great at saying things, but he always showed up quietly. The text said, I'm sorry I didn't do more. You deserved better. I'm proud of you. I called him. He sounded surprised. I said you came to my graduations. Both of them. You were always there. He said, of course. I said that counted, Dad. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then he said, be happy, okay? Just be happy. I'm working on it. The week after the wedding, Lily texted me. You got married without telling us? I can't believe this. I'm your sister. I thought about the blush dress. The pink makes you look darker. Said like helping. I thought about 16 years of black dairy milk at the dinner table. Said without looking up. I typed back. I know. That was all. She texted 3 more times. I didn't respond. This is not the ending where I forgive everyone and we all hug and learn our lessons. This is the ending where I'm 20 years old, married to someone who walked past 6 empty seats to sit across from me in 340 wedding photographs, learning, slowly, brick by brick, to look at my own face without wanting to disappear. That's enough. That's more than enough. I spent 16 years believing I was the broken one, the misprint, the one who came out wrong. I wasn't broken. I was just in the wrong room. My skin color is not a defect. It's not a punchline. It's not a reason for a smaller photo package or a reason to stand at the back of every picture. It's warm and even and in good light. The kind of light Caleb always somehow finds. It's beautiful. I know this now not because someone told me, though someone did many times in a library and a dorm room and a courthouse. I know it because I looked in a mirror and I stopped flinching. Some days are easier than others. I won't pretend otherwise. But I'm in the photos now, in the center of the photos, and nobody is cropping me out. Okay, I need to know what you guys think. Was the moment Caleb said her name, is Maya the moment everything changed? Or was it those 340 wedding photos? Do you think Lily actually knew what she was doing? Because I genuinely still go back and forth on this. And if you've ever been given a nickname that felt like a verdict, drop it in the comments. You don't have to explain it. Just drop it. I'll read every single one. If this story found you at the right time, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You were never the broken one. You were just in the wrong room.